IRCC CSIS make a decision.
Make it now. Make a decision. Make it now. Make a decision. Make it now.
2026年7月31日，温哥华、多伦多、卡尔加里、渥太华、温尼伯和萨斯卡通，加拿大6座城市同步举行集会，要求政府解决移民安全审查长期延误的问题。而对不少站到现场的申请人来说，这种等待早已不是几个月，而是几年。
Over the past 47 months, my life has been on hold.
My family has been waiting for a permanent residence for 3 years and 8 months.
For almost 3 years, I received no meaningful information about when my application may be completed.
而这些等待还不是最长的。对现场不少申请人来说，一项移民安全审查早已不是按月，而是按年来计算。为什么一项移民安全审查会变成一场持续数年的等待？当申请迟迟没有最终决定，这些人又为这样的等待付出了什么？今天我们就从7月31日这场加拿大多城行动出发，寻找答案。欢迎收看本期加国观察。我们先从一张临时居民签证说起。Steven 在2024年10月7日递交申请，随后进入安全审查，到7月31日，已经过去21个月，仍然没有结果。
It has now been exactly 21 months. 21 months locked in this country, 21 months of absolute stagnancy, met with nothing but uninformative, automated replies from IRCC.
要看懂这种等待为什么会持续这么久，我们先来看一份申请进入安全审查以后会经过哪些部门，又是怎样一步一步流转的。按照加拿大政府公布的流程， IRCC 首先对申请进行初步安全评估，需要进一步审查的案件会被转交给加拿大边境服务局 CBSA 和加拿大安全情报局 CSIS 进入综合安全审查。 CBSA 会核查申请人的背景、工作和旅行经历以及相关数据库信息，涉及国家安全的问题 CSIS 也会进一步审查。完成后， CBSA 根据审查结果向 IRCC 提供建议，最终决定仍由 IRCC 做出。从流程上看，每一个环节都有对应的部门，但真正让一些申请人困惑的，恰恰是档案在不同部门之间流转以后，他们很难知道自己的申请究竟走到了哪一步。
NSIRA says CSIS is done. CBSA says security screening is concluded and results sent back to IRCC. Yet, IRCC has no any update, no any progress. This is a misaligned process, and ordinary families are trapped inside it.
而这种信息不透明，并不只困扰普通申请人。当天到场的胡元豹参议员说，即使由他向 IRCC 询问具体案件，能够得到的信息也非常有限。
When I raise your case with IRCC and they tell me that you are in secondary screen, you've cleared everything. Everything is fine except security screening. They cannot give me any information on what they are looking at. They cannot give me any information on what the problems may be. And most importantly, they cannot tell me how much longer it will take. That is unfair.
当这样的不确定持续几年，它影响的就不再只是一份申请，工作机会会出现，也会消失，孩子会长大，父母也会老去。那么这些漫长的等待究竟改变了什么？我们继续往下看。在萨斯卡通，12岁的 Zoe 把这种等待换成了一个孩子最容易理解的单位，他自己的人生。
When I hear adults talk about waiting, well, I think about something different. I think about time. 3 years is a long time when you're 12. It's almost 1/3 of my life.
对 SFU 数学系博士生舒样，它意味着一个个正在关闭的职业机会。
This uncertainty has seriously affected my academic and career development. Many companies use internship to select future full-time employees. A successful internship may lead to a written offer after graduation. Missing one internship can mean missing a future job. Missing one postdoc position can affect 7 years of academic development.
对一些家庭来说，等待首先变成了越来越重的经济压力。孩子的身份迟迟没有变化，学费账单却每年准时送达。
And now September is coming again. The 60,000 international tuition fee for my children is once again pressing down on me so heavily that I can barely breathe. I have cut my life down to the bare minimum. Almost everything in my house came from strangers giving things away from free.
为了省下一点钱，他开始在社区里寻找别人免费送出的家具，其中一把电脑椅，他到现在都记得。
Someone in the community group was giving away a computer chair. I wore my old boots and pushed the heavy chair through the snow step by step. It took me more than an hour to walk the 3 kilometers home. My pants were soaked, my fingers stiff with cold. But all I could think was every dollar saved is a dollar from my children's education.
对一些申请人来说，漫长的等待意味着亲人生病时无法陪伴，甚至在亲人离世时也无法赶回去。
During this time, my grandmother passed away. I could not travel back. I could not be there to comfort my dad when he lost his mother. Now my grandfather is also in poor health conditions. And once again, I'm forced to watch from an ocean away.
而对另一个家庭来说，等待发生在病房之外。孩子病重期间，他们一直希望远在海外的外公能够来到加拿大陪伴家人。这一等就是2年半。
This is my daughter. Her name's Luna. My daughter who we spent 5 months with at BC Children's Hospital. My daughter who was on life support, followed by palliative care, and in and out of the ICU many, many times. We've been waiting 2.5 years for her grandfather to come out to Canada and visit us and help us. We even had the emergency, the top respirologist at BC Children's Hospital sign a form for an emergency travel visa just so he can come and see his dying granddaughter. We haven't heard a single thing in 2.5 years, not from a single person in the IRCC.
等待影响的从来不只是一份申请，它改变的是一个家庭原本可以拥有的生活。很多事情可以延期，但人生中的一些时刻错过了就不会再回来。当一份申请长期没有答案，很多人开始寻找其他途径，试图让停滞的程序重新向前走。其中一种就是向联邦法院申请 Mandamus 强制令，要求行政机关对迟迟没有结果的案件做出决定。那么强制令到底有没有效果？我们继续往下看。在加拿大，针对长期行政延误，一种司法救济叫做 Mandamus， 也就是强制令。它解决的不是移民申请该不该批准，而是行政机关迟迟不做决定怎么办。申请人可以请求联邦法院，要求相关部门履行依法作出决定的职责。是否颁发强制令，仍需要法院根据具体案件做出判断。当天的集会上，一名长期从事移民诉讼的律师谈到了自己这些年接触到的变化。
And a huge part of my practice is mandamus. Well, I started my immigration practice several years ago, and maybe I would file 1 or 2 mandamus applications a year. And then slowly that grew, and slowly that grew, and I couldn't possibly ascribe a number to how many mandamus applications that I have been privileged to be a party to.
但走进法院并不意味着等待马上结束，司法程序本身同样需要时间。
Insofar as the legal proceedings go, we are seeing the court process take anywhere from in and around, it could be as little as 5 months, as long as a year and a half.
对于已经等待多年的申请人来说，即使走进联邦法院申请强制令，很多时候也只是从一种等待进入了另一种等待。而当我们把视线从安全审查移开，会发现等待并不只存在于这一项程序里。在加拿大的移民系统中，不同项目、不同申请正在面对各种不同形式的等待。加拿大移民部2025年的部长交接文件中曾经公布过一组新申请人等待时间的估算，当时护理人员项目是108个月，农业食品项目是228个月，而创业签证 Startup Visa 达到了420个月。420个月换算下来， 就是35年。
I applied for startup visa in April of 2021 and still waiting for my PR. Since then, my company has grown several times, so now it's a multi-million-dollar company.
对创业者来说，几年时间足以改变一家公司的方向，也足以改变一个人最终选择在哪里发展。
I know two founders who moved to the US since then. One is the founder of $100 million company, and other is a co-founder of $1 billion company. They moved to California because they people who can build something, they just cannot wait.
对于一个移民系统来说，长期等待真正消耗的可能不只是申请人的时间，还有人才、信心以及人们继续选择加拿大的理由。那么作为主要负责移民申请处理的 IRCC， 它自身又接受着怎样的监督和约束？ IRCC 公布的2024-2025财年不当行为与违规年度报告显示，这一财年共有105宗成立的员工不当行为或违规案件。当一个部门掌握着大量申请资料和行政权限，这些权限如何被使用，又如何被监督，同样需要答案。与此同时，长期积压的问题也已经被带到了联邦政府层面。2026年3月13日，来自不同地区的申请人来到渥太华国会山，第一次把长期安全审查的问题带到加拿大政治中心。胡元豹参议员也在当天的活动中发言，公开支持提高移民处理的透明度和效率。5月1日，行动来到温哥华，申请人聚集在温哥华美术馆外，随后步行前往 IRCC 办公室。组织者原本预计只有30-50人参加，当天到场的却达到数百人。
Make the decision, make it now. Make the decision, make it now. Decision, make it now.
街头行动进行的同时，另一条渠道也在推进。3月11日，一份国会电子请愿书开放签名，请愿内容包括处理长期积压，要求 IRCC、CBSA 和 CSIS 提供定期进度更新，建立独立监督机制，并公开安全审查的等待时间和积压数据。最终共有13507个经过验证的签名。2026年5月25日，温哥华东区国会议员 Jenny Kwong 将这份请愿书正式提交加拿大众议院。几个月过去，请愿书进入了众议院，行动也从1座城市扩大到6座城市。但对很多申请人来说，等待还没有结束。他们最后要求的是一个明确的时间，一次真正的更新和一个最终的决定。
We need truth. We need answers now.
Life doesn't pause, but we are forced to.
We're not numbers, we're people.
Behind each of us is a household on hold.
A process with a timeline. A process with an answer.
Security screen should not feel like a life sentence.
Time is life, and time is irrevocable.
I have integrated, I have contributed, I have served.
But a security check cannot be a blank check for indefinite delays.
The hardest part is not the waiting, it is the silence.
Family reunification is not just a policy, it's a fundamental human need.
有人在等一张 PR 卡，有人在等一张能够再次进入加拿大的签证，有人在等配偶回来，有人在等父母来到身边，还有人等的只是趁父母还在，能够放心的回一次家。在系统里，他们有申请编号，有递交日期，有处理状态，最后都会变成一组可以统计的数字。可数字不会告诉你一个孩子已经长大了多少，一对夫妻已经分开了多久，一位老人还能再等几年，也不会记录一个家庭为了这份等待究竟失去了什么。因为人生没有暂停键，错过的机会不会重新出现，错过的陪伴也无法重新经历。有些等待最后即使等来了结果，那段被消耗掉的人生也已经无法归还。等待可以存在，安全审查也可以严格，但等待应该有边界，程序应该有解释，权利也应该受到监督。 因为对一个行政系统来说，它处理的是一份份案件，而对申请人来说，他们经历的是自己无法暂停也无法重来的人生。对于那些今天仍然在等待的人，答案什么时候到来，我们还不知道，但至少他们不应该永远只得到一句人在处理中。这里是家国观察，感谢您的收看，我们下期再见。